This past Christmas, I gave my brother an IOU for a guitar holder, so I figured it was about time I get to it. In order to get the dimensions correct for the holder, I needed to know where the guitar would hang relative to the wall, so I used a clamp and a plumb bob to take some measurements and see exact distances from the wall that various parts of the guitar would be. I had to use a straight edge to extend the line of the plumb bob up to the very top of the guitar. What I found was that if I position the top of the neck at 3 inches from the wall, then all other parts of the guitar would be at least 1 inch from the wall. So I used a scrap from the bed that I made a year ago and mill up some pieces on the table saw. So Jimmy DiResta would have a really clever way of positioning two equally distant centered holes, but I use every measuring device possible to do that. Then I drill out holes for screws. I want to use screws to attach this to the wall, but I also want those to be hidden. Now the standard method would be to do some kind of French cleat thing, but I really didn't like the idea of French cleats for a guitar holder because you're lifting it up and out. I was worried that it would want to come off the cleat. So I did something a little bit different. First I thread holes, and this will accept a wood-topped bolt. That'll make more sense in a second. So this I'm drawing out the pattern for the top of that wood bolt. Looks like a pretty snowflake. So I drill out the centers on those two bolt tops, and I tap those as well. Now I can cut them out on the bandsaw. And use belt sander to smooth them out. I also put a chamfer on the top and bottom edges. So I had some leftover pieces of threaded rod from the twisted table, and I cut those to the dimension I need. I mix some epoxy and glue those threaded pieces into the bolt tops. Now I'm going to work on making the piece that the neck of the guitar rests on. I'm not usually too good about stopping the blade before lifting it up, but I'm glad I did this time with a small, unsupported piece, because look at that catch. That could have been dangerous if I didn't slow down. I use a disc sander to round over the edges. I want everything that touches the guitar to be leather. I'm really not very good at working with leather, so this was a bit of an iterative process. I mark out the dimensions I think I need. That ends up being too small, so I just add about 3/8 of an inch all the way around. People that are proficient at this are not going to be too impressed, but I end up getting the job done. Now I mark where these tacks are going to go, and then use a modified version of a trick Izzy Swan actually showed the woodworking world, and use a nail to drill some holes. But first I grind it down to the perfect diameter so that I get some resistance with those tacks, but not so much that they end up bending and breaking, which seems to be what happens if I don't have anything pre-drilled. And now they go in real easy. I drill some holes to mount that piece on the back. The one on the right, the countersink on the right, I ran the drill in reverse. That's how you can avoid that annoying chattering hexagon shape if you have the hole pre-drilled. And I mark out place to drill pilot holes for the neck support and screw it together. So now I need the piece that actually holds the guitar up. Again, null up some lumber from that same piece of wood, plane it down. I draw out this shape to hold the guitar. I double stick tape two of these together and then work on removing the kerf marks with the spoke shave. The end grain kerf marks I remove with the drum sander. I don't need to get it up to full speed to do this. Now I struggle getting the two pieces to unstick, and I don't show how I had to get that gooey stuff off because I really didn't want to relive it. So now I put a chamfer on the pieces that'll accept the guitar just to make it a little easier to put it in place. And also round over the top. Again, I want these wrapped in leather, and again it's an iterative process with the first two pieces of leather that I cut out being too small. I didn't account for the parts that fold over, so I extend the sides. But that ends up not being long enough, so I finally cut a piece that I know is oversized. And worry about trimming it down a little bit. Now it's ready to tack in place, similar to the neck support. I mark out a center line on this. And use a marking gauge to place some holes for screws that will hold this to the neck support in the back. So now I cut some plugs. I have a lot of scrap pieces of wood that are about the right thickness for plugs. That allows me to use a plane to remove the plugs rather than another power tool, which I like a bit better. I glue these in place. And flush cut them. And now I give everything a final sanding, which I really should have done before I assembled it, but I don't have all that much patience. And I should have done this before assembling as well, but I don't think boiled linseed oil is going to cause a problem for the leather. I made sure I cleaned it up really good. So now I mounted my garage just to test it all out. You can see how the wooden bolts hide the screw holes and look pretty good. And there it is holding my steel string guitar. Now my brother's guitar is a nylon string classical. It's got a thicker neck, but even my steel string doesn't want to fall through. So I really think this is going to work out pretty good. The guitar only touches leather, and I think it's going to be pretty secure there. And I'm hopeful this will work out well for my brother. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.